Hello and welcome to Practical Applications, the show where we teach you about stuff and things that are around your home. I'm your host, John, and this episode took me a little while to film because of this. Yeah, this is our topic for today. It's the stapler. The reason this thing was giving me kind of trouble is just because it, for whatever reason, decided it didn't feel like working right today. But I guess that's what I get for getting a cheap stapler out of the grocery store, right? I just needed a stapler one day and I went out, got one, got the cheap one, and there you go. You know, the stapler itself was actually invented for royalty. That's right. This thing was initially invented for royalty. Specifically, it was invented for King Louis XIV of France. And really, that stapler had pretty much the same function as all other staplers, to be able to fasten several pieces of paper together. The main difference between this stapler and, say, staplers of today, well, there are many differences, but one of them being is that his stapler was actually gold encrusted and had the royal insignia on it, so it was kind of a bling-induced stapler, if you will. Now, a more modern stapler would actually be invented in the 1860s. It would be patented by the Novelty Manufacturing Company, and this was basically the precursor to the modern stapler. It was a step in the right direction, but one of the problems is that it only held one staple at a time, and from what I could gather, it seemed to be pretty hard to actually staple anything. You needed a lot of force to actually plunge down on anything. A lot of improvements were made, and the stapler as we know it today was invented in the 1930s, 1937 to be exact. In that year, the Parrott Speed Fastener Corporation patented a stapler that's pretty much what we use today. And when I say pretty much, I mean like all the basic mechanics are the same as what we use today. What are these mechanics? Well, let's take a look.
The basic idea of a stapler is actually pretty simple. Open it up, you will see that the staplers are essentially held in with a series of springs and a stopper, if you will. The head of the stapler, where you push down, also uses a spring to drive everything home. And if you look down here, there are actually a couple of divots. We'll get into those, what they do shortly. Now when you actually staple something, you push down on the head. At this point, the staples will push through the paper. When the ends of the staple actually get to the other side, they go into these two divots. The divots actually create a bit of a pressure point so that the staple is basically folded inwards. That's how the staple gets its bent shape. At this point, if this thing was actually working, I'd be able to show you. But clearly, it's not. But trust me, that's actually the pre-basics of how the stapler works. It's all pressure when you get really right down to it.
Pretty much all staplers made since 1937, or at least, standard models like this, not electric ones because they run on electricity, use this basic principle to drive staples into paper. And really, when you get right down to it, why mess with perfection? The only way they could have improved it was with electricity, and they did that. There's nowhere else they could really go. Okay, I'm gonna go try to bash this thing into submission. I'll see you on the next Practical Applications.